Hello, dear students. Welcome to I-Fal. My name is Teacher Nikki, and I am here to have another video lesson with you. So I am so excited to talk about a new topic for you today that will help you understand and construct better sentences using the English language. I know that these lessons will be very helpful for you to communicate using the English language that are grammatically correct and properly constructed, considering that we will be talking about some grammar topics. So I want you to concentrate on our lesson today, pay attention to our sample sentences, and please practice them very well even after the class. So let's go ahead and start our lesson. Let's go.
So for this lesson, let's go ahead and move on to another type of your pronoun, which is one of the most common ones that we encounter in the English communication skills or communication is your relative pronoun. All right. So to identify or to better know the concept of relative pronoun, let's start defining or giving its meaning first. Now, so a relative pronoun is a pronoun that introduces a relative clause. Okay. So I know that you have an idea of relative clause already. It is called a relative pronoun because it relates to the word that its relative clause modifies. So it means there is a connection, there is a relationship to the sentences that it's connecting. Okay. Basically, the relative clause that it modifies. So the person who phoned me last night is my teacher. So you can see there the relative pronoun who, okay, relates the clause phoned me last night. Okay, now that is your relative clause in this case, and it shows the relationship to your subject or to the totality of your sentence. So again, the person who phoned me last night is my teacher. Okay, so a relative pronoun introduces a relative clause, and a relative clause actually gives extra information, could be an important one or just like an accessory information for our sentence. Okay, so later on, we will be talking more about the kinds of your relative pronouns and how we actually use them in sentences. Now, so in the above example, who, okay, is your relative pronoun. So it relates to the person, it connects to the person. So which who phoned me last night modifies. So the clause who phoned me last night tells something about the subject, the person. It gives more for information. Okay, so it introduces the relative clause who phoned me last night. So that's why in this case, it's important to use your relative pronoun. All right, moving forward. So there are actually five basic relative pronouns that we have. So we have who, whom, whose, which, and that. Okay, so you might be wondering, oh, these words are just similar with your interrogative pronouns. Yes, four of them, but you have to remember interrogative pronouns are actually used to ask questions. Okay, so normally we use them in asking questions. However, on the other hand, your relative pronouns are actually not for questions, but they are used to introduce your relative clause. So therefore, you will commonly see them in descriptive sentences or normal sentence structures. Okay? So, now next one. So let's see and identify on how we actually understand each of these relative pronouns. So we use who when we introduces or relates a subject in the sentence, and whom if it's object. So who and whom are generally only for people. So when you are introducing relative clauses that relates to people, then use who or whom. But you have to identify if they are subject or object in this case. Okay? Now, whose is for possession. It introduces a relative clause relating to a possession. and which is for things. Okay, on the other hand, that can be used for things and people only in defining relative clause. Wow, that's another term. Defining relative clause. Okay, so when we say defining relative clauses, these are the clauses that are essential to the sentence and do not simply add extra information. Okay, remember that. So you're defining relative clauses, they are important part of the sentence and they give essential or important information to your sentences. So that's why we cannot just simply remove them in the sentence, but we have to put them there. Okay? So please remember that. All right?
So I hope you find our lesson today very helpful. So as I always say, the secret in making your communication skills in English better is constant practice. So I want you to please keep on practicing all the lessons that we've had in the past and even this present lesson. So I know that you can do it really well and you'll improve yourself eventually. So just keep believing in yourself and practice more, okay? Now, please stay tuned to our more lessons here in I-Fal and please visit our website that I will flash on the next screen. I also encourage you to please subscribe to our classes because we have a lot of amazing teachers that will help you and guide you in improving your English skills. So once again, this is Teacher Nikki. So I'll just see you again on the next classes and video lessons that we're going to have. I know that we will have more amazing lessons in the future. So stay tuned and good luck. Study harder and I'll see you next time. Bye.